Excuse me. How's everybody doing tonight? Day 20. Not very many puzzles reach day 20, but this one did. But it looks like, a pinball table. I mean, it's not fully assembled yet. I got the sideboards over here. This looks like it's a little off, this camera. But anyway. Yeah. We got the... we were working on the tabletop yesterday. There's a ton of electronics on the back. There's more coming. Lights, sounds, score. This is the scoreboard, so it's not really much of a scoreboard, which is, for pinball you want a scoreboard, but we don't have that. It looks like a pretty good layout, though. There's some ramps, there's some spinny things, there's some bumpers, there's some ricochet points. There's, you lose there's some channels there where you're definitely going to lose the ball. So let's keep building it. Let's see where this goes. I think it's going to be pretty cool. We got to keep moving though, because it's, as I say, day 20 already. All right, so page 36. Did we complete page 36? There's 35. No, we didn't do page 36 yet. Looks like there's a lot going on there on page 36. It's in two halves. Second half looks easy. You're just adding a ramp. First half, it's kind of busy. How many pieces is that? My goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. There's 18 pieces. So we're going to go from 616 to 634. Guess we're adding 18 pieces. All right. So we already counted the pieces. Now we got to get them in there. First two are from the C board, which is somewhere over here. Now we got to count out 18 pieces, and it's going to be boring if I narrate that. So let's find one of these questions to talk about. We've been working through this set of word teaser. That's the name, and firsts, that's the box of cards. When was the first video game invented? Well, which was the first video game? Let's read the years that they give us. 1958, 1967, 1972. Well, I think 72 would be the answer if they were talking about the first console, because I remember having this console where the paddle was like a wheel that you spun. Actually, that's not a good angle. It was like a wheel. It was maybe like the size of a computer mouse, and at the top it would have a wheel that you would spin, and that wheel would control, depending if you were playing single or double player, it would control these two sticks, and then there would be like a ball. It was like an off-the-wall version. Anyway, it was basically Pong. So 72 would be the first console. Now the first game, I'm wondering what they're counting as the first game, because there was a game in the 50s that the computer people played, which was called Life. Are you familiar with the game Life? It actually plays a large role in my first graphic novel, Electromagnet, though it's never mentioned and never explicitly referenced. Oh, my profile picture is a 3x3 grid with with all the middle cells in black, and then the upper right and the mid left in black, and then the other remaining 4 in white. If you just look at my profile pic right now, that's from the Game of Life. That's called the R Pentamino. Now, the Game of Life, it was a sim, but it wasn't exactly like The Sims or Roller Coaster Tycoon. It was a different type of sim. It was rules, and unfortunately I don't remember the rules off the top of my head, but they were based on where, like, what items or what squares, what cells in the grid were populated. Based on which ones were populated at one generation, then that would be determine which ones were populated on the next generation. And it was a simple formula. It was like, again, I don't remember it. We could probably look it up. Let's look it up. I think that's like something that's worth looking up. Video game life cell rules. Have you heard of cellular automata? That's kind of what this was. Oh, okay. It's called Conway's Game of Life. That's the full name of it. So you start with a grid. You know, it kind of looks like a chessboard. Well, actually, it kind of looks like a blank board, because a chessboard alternates between like white and black, and a checkers board is like red and black, but maybe like Othello or something like that. Othello might be a better one, because it's it starts with like I think a green grid, and then you put coins on it, and you flip, like one side is white and one side is black. But even that's not right. And the reason why this was programmed by computer nerds, it really works like a computer. It's not like white and black, because there would be 3 states in Othello: white, black, or blank. It's really more like black or blank. White and blank are the same in this Conway's Game of Life. So the rules are any live cell with fewer than 2 live neighbors dies, as if caused by underpopulation. Any live cell with 2 or 3 neighbors lives on to the next generation. Any live cell with more than 3 neighbors dies, as if by overpopulation. So underpopulation, if there's fewer than 2. Overpopulation, if there's more than 3. But if it's 2 or 3, then the cell continues. So you can run something like Game of Life Simulator. Can we do that right now? Can we, like, we'll do Conway's Game of Life Sim. Alright, I screwed up. Alright, Conway's Game of Life online simulation. Conway game. By the way, they had this game for Atari, and they had it for SNES. It was there. It was right there. It was simulator. So it was like in the autofill. All right, let's see if we can find one. Game of Life. You would think there used to be a million of these online. All right, so are we seeing a blank one here? This looks like a static shot. I want like a blank. I don't know. That's not working. We need conwaylife.com. This seems like it should work, right? It may work on a computer, but not on a tablet. All right, let's try another one. Am I looking at images? All right, I want to show you one, but I can't seem to find one. You could watch a YouTube video, but I was hoping to find like an actual sim. Let's go to the Wikipedia. There you go. So that's kind of what it looks like. But why I wanted to launch an actual simulator is so you can pick some cells and try it for yourself. So what it's showing here, this one, it's creating, I forget if that's called a glider gun. So the glider is the things that it's producing. So someone found some combination of pieces that you can put together, and they start shooting off these gliders. And then I'll just sit there and do that forever. So that's called a glider gun. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but basically it's from these very simple rules and from the various like starting points that you can choose, you can create kind of like, you can create a computer, basically. You can probably create, if you have a big enough board, and in fact, there's some crazy implications to this. And some people have like a chicken and egg sort of question, like, did God create man or did man create God? Like, where did the first cell come from and all this stuff? And what's interesting about this game of life is that you can build a computer in it, and you can build, a computer intelligence in it. You can. I mean, you're going to need a huge, like, screen to do it, but you theoretically can. And this could be, this might sound crazy, and I don't think I'm prepared to go into the full explanation right now, but this could come before organic life, because it's blips following a consistent pattern. Now, I'm not saying that this is the pattern. I'm saying that whatever the physics of the universe is, as long as it has some stable rules, then something like that game of life simulator could exist. And once it exists, it can become more complex. And once it gets to the point that it's like a computer, then it could build like other computers. And the other generations could be more intelligent. And then it could start putting, creating more complex, I'm going to call them creatures. People talk about how DNA is like computer code. It kind of works the same way. It's actually more like an array, but than like like an assembly language or something like that. But the point is that this is some root level. The simplicity of this game of life makes it very root level to the universe. It's like this could be something. This could be nothing, or this could be something that's very important to how the universe works. It might be. Or it could just be some quirk that some computer nerds in the 1950s discovered. We don't know yet. Okay. So that's a game from the 1950s. The Pong console is from the 1970s. I just got this F-board caught on something here. I hope I didn't break anything. So Life is from the 50s. Pong is from the 70s. But Pong console is from the 70s. Pong in the arcade or in like a pizza place or something like that, that might have been the 60s. I actually don't recall that. I wasn't born in the 60s, so I don't know. But if you figure that they had a home console in the early 70s for Pong, then they probably had at least one Pong arcade cabinet in some pizza place somewhere in the 1960s. I mean, didn't they fly to the moon in the 60s? Like July 20th, 1969? I know that's kind of like last half of the last year to get in to the 60s, but it was technically in the 60s. So, I mean, if they could fly to the moon, they could make Pong, right? I mean, which is like, I mean, I understand they put more resources into flying to the moon. They weren't using like NASA to develop Pong, but here's the thing: people just do shit. Like at Google, they specifically allow people time at their job to do whatever they want. And Google assumes that if they hire enough computer nerds, then some of the things that people do in their free time are going to end up being great products that Google could sell. You know, I think their web browser came from this, and they say Gmail came from this. You know, it's like, I don't know why you needed it, Gmail, to come from someone's free time. I think someone could have thought of Gmail on business hours, but I guess it's the point that you get to assign yourself a project. And some people are like, I assign myself watching the Marvel MCU because I want to get in touch with the consumers and what they think are cool so I can be better at rating animations on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, they could do that. But someone else is like, I want to make email, you know, and they don't even know, like, why. Like, they don't even know how they're going to sell it. Or maybe they do. But another time, they just think, it exists, I'm going to do it. You know, like, there was a time when Netscape Navigator was, like, a force in the marketplace just because they made a free browser. And I don't think people even realize how simple the first browsers were. You know, so then Microsoft made their browser free, and Google wasn't quite a force back then, but they eventually became one, and their browser's free, and now all browsers are free. Like, who pays for browsers? That's just, like, not the way the world works. So, what does this have to do with the video game? Oh, so you give people free time, and even if you don't give people free time, they're going to do it anyway. Like, that's how the game of life came about. No one assigned anyone to build the game of life. At that time, video games, computer processing was, do you know what a vacuum tube is? I mean, computer processing cycles were very expensive. You know how your computer nowadays will have like multiple tabs and apps open at the same time? Well, that's called distributed processing, or, you know, it's not even probably called that anymore, but that was what it was called in the 50s. When people were showing up with like a card with a bunch of holes punched in it, which that was their program, and then it would be read by these bunch of hooks, and it would be like stored in these like vacuum tubes. And when they debugged the system, it was because there was like actual bugs in the vacuum tubes. So my point is that computer processing time was shared, and it was very expensive back then. But that didn't stop people from fucking around. The people who were in charge of the computers, you know, nowadays you might think you're goofing off because you're, you know, reading Reddit or you're watching YouTube. But back then, there wasn't really anything entertaining to do on the computer other than what you came up with yourself. So one of the first programs was this Life, and they just like made it so it ran on the computer, and like no bosses were involved. Nobody was assigning that time. It was used on the free time. Or maybe that time wasn't even free. Maybe they just kind of, you know, got away with it. And then the computer people at the different installations, because remember, back then in the 50s, it's not like every business had a computer. I mean, it was like military, universities. It was like, research people. It was like you had to be a heavy hitter to have a computer. But at the same time, those were like the political important people that you see on TV. And then there's still, there's like the neckbeards who actually operate the computers. And those guys were entertaining themselves, and they would see what they could do, like that glider gun. Like, I'm sure the first guy who made that glider gun and like posted it to the 1950s version of Reddit, which was probably some like monthly magazine, I mean, that guy was a legend in the community. The guy, R. Pentomino, that one people discover themselves. That one's just an issue of who gets to name it. Okay, I gotta just quickly check here which one of these is going to be. I think it was 20 millimeters I'm looking for. 20 millimeter bar. And then the only piece after that is 3 P50s. So we'll get to work on that, on all these pieces. So I'll measure this. We'll grab the 350s, and then we'll look at the back of the card, and then we'll get to work. All right, this is the 20. This is the 20 millimeter rod. So that's smaller than 20. That's greater than 20. This one's 20. That's the one we need. So we're almost done. We just need 3 P50s. All right, so just to try to work on our guess a little bit more. So 1950s Game of Life, 1970s Pong console, 1960s, what was the game? I don't know. Had Alexei Pajitnov come up with Tetris yet? I know that Tetris was the sort of Russian version of Game of Life. Actually, Russians were ahead, I would say, in making the game playable. Because America's Game Life was just a sim. I shouldn't say America. The West's Game of Life was a sim, but the game Tetris with those colorful shapes, it's funny that they do occupy the same grid. Like if you look at my logo again, that's actually a piece that exists in the Russian wooden playset version of Tetris, but it doesn't exist in the video game Tetris. In the video game, they have the like L shape. I think they have 2 different versions, but they don't have the L shape with the piece on the back, which is what the R Pentomino is. So anyway, that's what the Russian neckbeards were up to. In Russia, the nerds don't have neckbeards. Russian nerds can like be MMA fighters, and they can be like alcoholics, and like they can be in the army, because Russia has an entirely nerdy culture. So the nerds aren't limited to the like computer programming isn't limited to the nerds. Like writing poetry isn't limited to the nerds. It's a weird sort of thing. And I could say this because my family is half Russian. Well, my kids are half Russian and my wife is Russian, and I've been to many, many times for extended times to Russia. So I feel like I can speak on it, but I'm actually Italian, not Russian. All right. Before I get into any more trouble with international relations, we now have our 18 pieces. We said 18, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Does that seem like I'm short one? 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. What are we missing? Now I got to go through the whole thing. All right, we got our 3C. Now we got our 2 C's. And then we have F times 3. All right, we got our 2 C's. We got our 2 F's. We got our 3. And then we should have G5. Is this G5? Okay, so we're missing. Okay. C45, C46, F51, F52, 3 F53s, G5, G8, 3 G12s, G15, 1, 3. I must have counted wrong in the beginning, or I'm counting wrong now. Let's see again. My comment got us. Okay, that's unrelated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18. We're missing P21. We just didn't collect P21 yet. That's the piece that we're missing. So what is P21? Oh, P21 is a 20 millimeter rubber band that's in bag 3. All right. I saw it. Where did it go? And why do we need this? All right. There's a similar size rubber bands. Is 20 millimeter the smallest one? No. It's the medium size one. I think we use the 2 big ones, and all we have left are 3 small and 2 medium, so I'm going to grab a medium. Just because bag 3 has a big rubber band. We don't have any more of those. It had 2. We used them both here and here. There are 6 of the small. We still got 3 small. 7 of the medium. We got 2 mediums, so I'm taking a medium. All right, finally, we have all our pieces. So let's look at the answer on the back of the card, and then we'll get to building. 26 minutes. So the cards actually slowed down how long it took to get the pieces, but it doesn't matter. Because when I do the compilation, we'll cut it out. All right, what's the answer? Nuclear physicist Willem Higginbotham invented a game called Tennis for Two, that's Pong, and introduced it at a visitor's open house at Brookhaven National Laboratories in October 1958. All right, so they didn't consider Life to be a game. I mean, it's called Life, and it's a sim game, but I guess they didn't consider it. So Pong, or Tennis for Two, if you want to call it that. Nuclear physicist. Why did he? Okay, well, sounds like he was somewhat of a computer programmer as well, but I guess his job was nuclear, being a nuclear physicist. All right, what do we got to build here? All right, we gotta put one of the plastic circles onto this rod thing here, and then we gotta push it through to the point of the 4. The 4. There's the 1, 2, 4. It's probably, I don't know. Is it 4 millimeters or is it just called 4? It's like a binary expansion, right? 1, 2, 4. That's what they look like. They're like doubling in size each time. The reason I'm saying that is because we were just doing all that computer talk. And a big thing in computers is binary expansion, which is what this appears to be. That's why they're labeled 1, 2, and 4. They're doubling each time. Like you can imagine one double the length of 4 that says 8. 16. I mean, we could go for an hour with the binary expansion, but we're just going to leave it at that for now. Right. It was easy before to push it too far and then pull it back. I don't know if it's not any far right now. That's not even going through. All right, I got to push it, pull it down, I guess. Without hurting my fingernails. I'm worried about bending them back from pushing down on it. I'm also worried about when we now try to get it to the right distance here. I think it's already the right distance. That just happened to work out. So that's the right distance. All right. All right, we got to build some little crap here. We got to keep it on this relatively close camera. So they want us to take these 3 sticks, put them into this thing, and then put it onto that, and then put a second plastic piece on top Like, how crazy is that? Also, I got to be careful that I've even got the right piece. Because there's 3 of them. So actually, the one that goes the lowest is 52, which is this one. So don't confuse them. No, is it? $51, $52. I gotta take a closer look here. Let's zoom in. All right. Which is piece 52? Is it this one or this one? All right, 45 is this one. So this one has to be 52. All right. What doesn't make sense? Oh, okay. They show these little guys going in the bottom, but then they go through and come out the top. That's what was confusing me. All right. So we got to get these little guys in there. They're kind of L shapes. I don't know if you can see that. They're L's, trust me. And the sort of part of the L that points in should go towards the middle. That's what they want there. It actually looks like there's a little like wiggle room in that piece. I don't know why there would be. Because it seems like the L could go through with that wiggle room. I'm starting to wonder if I'm supposed to be using the other piece first. Well, it's going to eventually get to the other piece. And maybe this is going to sit in the full length. I think maybe that is the case. Yeah. Yeah, I think that is the case. So it's not supposed to be baggy at the bottom. You're supposed to get that L in there. Not push it all the way through, but just get it in there. These pieces often stay from just tension. So, all right. Just getting these in there. I feel like if this takes any longer, I'm going to have to grab the next card from the deck. Yeah. This is why I hate tiny pieces. They're just like, you can't even grip them properly. Wow. They're all slanted. And they're not supposed to be slanted. And they're falling out. Alright. I'm going to push them through, which is going to put them at a risk of falling out. But if I don't push them through, then they're definitely going to tilt and slant. Alright. I got 2 of them in there. The third one was already in. Okay. Now, this all goes on top of this thing. But we're far from done. In fact, I think this plastic piece needs to go down further, because this whole thing has to fit on it. Because now we're going to add this C45. Does it seem like we should have put these little pieces into the C45 first? Would that have been easier? not sure. Wow. Oh, man. It's falling apart. Wait a second. This isn't even right. Good thing it fell apart. The F51, that's the C45, but the F51 is the second piece that goes on. And actually, it's going to help. It's going to help keep these pieces from colliding into each other. And also, oh, okay. No. We are supposed to put it on this first. Because after we put it on this... Sorry, I was off camera. Because I have this big board here. And that's like... So we put the rod through first so that we could put the other rod on this, the other nut on this side. So we got the nuts on both sides. Oh my goodness, I dropped it. Do I shake the whole board? Or do I just take another? I also dropped the rod on the floor, so now I gotta find that. Alright, give me a minute to find that piece. Alright. I don't know what camera angle. Because I keep working over here because this giant thing is on my table. But then I end up not being on camera. Alright. So this circle goes on top of that pole. Alright. Did we get it? It's not fully in. I want to get it to flush. Okay. It's still not flush. And when it's not flush, there's the piece underneath it wiggles. So we have to get this plastic nut down further. Alright, there's still a little wiggle. Okay, what if I put it in here? Yeah, then we got a little, like, kind of bracing at the bottom. Okay, I think we got it. Alright, it's tight now. Okay, now this F51. So it needs to go around that nut, and it's going to kind of hold all those bars. So they're going to stop slanting because this is going to be on the inside, like sort of keeping them out. Wow, it's like tiny little pieces. I think it's got to slip over that. Yeah, there we go. So it's now on there. It slipped over that plastic piece. So cool, right? Now finally we can put the C45 on top. I think this is like just something that's going to spin around, right? on the board. Like the ball's going to hit it and it's going to spin around. That's what it looks like. It's a lot of work to achieve this. Wow, the piece is coming out the bottom. It's not what we want. That means it's not going in the top. The skinny Allen wrench. Maybe that'll fit in there. Not that it's called for, but I just need something that'll fit in there so I can straighten that piece out. Nope, not flat enough. Alright. The bar at the end of the clippers. Everything's too thick. Nothing fits in there. Alright. We could take it off, or we could smush it in, which I think is what we gotta do. Line it up as best we can, and then jam it in there. I felt it coming out the top, so that's good. I don't think this piece needs to be perfect. It just needs to be functional. And I think that's, I think that's pretty much what they want. I mean, it may not be, I don't think we did a perfect job, but we did something. All right. Now we got to continue building this, but what are we doing here? They're taking the, by the way, did we ever finish collecting the pieces? P50 times 3? Oh yeah, that was the circles, the nuts. All right, it looks like they're taking P21 and they're somehow turning it into a triangle. Oh, because it's going to wrap around here. That's going to make it a triangle. It's going to wrap around this thing that we just built, and then it'll be a triangle. And then we put that, like, what is that, a seal or a clown? What is that? Who knows what that is? I'm going to call that a seal. It's got like a ball. It seems to be aquatic, and it's got a ball on its nose, so I'm going to call that a seal. All right. So the seal attaches to this side. And then the rubber band goes around there. So there's probably a hole somewhere on this board where this whole thing is going to go. I think we needed the smaller rubber band. What size rubber band did they ask for? They asked for P21. Oh yeah, they did ask for the small rubber band. I don't know. I don't know why I said the medium. It's the small. Correction. Everybody who listened to me, don't do that. Try not to do that. This is a live show. I haven't rehearsed. What we should be doing is all pay attention and correct each other's mistakes. So, it's the small rubber band. P21 is the small rubber band. Alright. Anyway, that should be obvious when you get to the rubber band that it's got to be tight. Alright, it's still not super tight, but I think it just functions as kind of a bumper so that the marble doesn't hit wood. It will instead hit this like piece of rubber. Like that's the whole idea. So this piece now has a rubber band at the bottom. The seal is only inked on one side. Come on. I should have inked both sides. Alright. So where's this seal go? There's a dot in the... It's a dot in front of this ramp. and next to this arrow. So I guess that's the dot, right? All right, they're showing the seal ink facing the arrow. It's possible that you can't mess that. I don't even know if this can be messed up. By the way, it's not touching the ground. I don't know what stopped it on the other side. Is there a staple in there? No, I guess it is touching the ground. It's just gravity at this point. Oh, but we have a third one of these. Maybe they want us to put that on the other side. Does it say to do that? There's something going on there. Okay, I think that is it. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So, this logo means flip the board over. So they're like showing a little. Okay, they're showing the pole going in there, and then they're showing the third P50 on the other side, and then they've got an arrow to it, and then the arrow is like a magnifying glass with a flip over, which is just like a long way of saying, yes, they want that nut on the other side. The only thing is I can't really work on the other side. I need like sawhorses or something. I can't work sideways or I'll break these flippers. And I can't work upside down or I'll break that ramp. I need clamps. I'm going to have to start building like some structure in here. Some like scaffolding. I do kind of have that because my lights and camera and mic and everything is on the scaffolding. Maybe I got to start clamping this models to it in the cases where that's called for. All right, it's on there. I don't know how deep they want it on there. I guess again we got to get it to flush. That's the idea, right? Let me take a close look. Yep, that's flush. Okay, so does it still spin? Yeah, it still spins. Okay, nice. All right. What's next? Leave a gap here. Well, another way to say that is stop it flush, which we did. We minded the gap. All right. The last image is just a QC. So what we need here is this image. G8, G15, G5, and then 3 G12s. That's what we got to do. Those are the pieces. So G8, G... Is there a difference? Yeah, this is G15. This is G5. And then 3 G12s. So I think we just need to drop those into this board. Let's try to get them in the right places. So G8. Yeah, G8 goes, there's a little like V point there, and there's a set of screws in front of that, and it goes in between those two screws. There's a little slot down there, and that's tab goes into that slot. Cool. All right. G15 goes in the next one. So there's another set of screws right next to it, and G15 goes there. Wow, 49 minutes, and we're not through half a page yet. It's not actually great, but whatever. Okay, and the next set of screws has 2 slits and G5 has 2 tabs, so that's a perfect fit. Try to get that in there good. Is that in good? I think it is. So it looks like it hits the target, but it actually hits the rubber band. Yeah, we're making a pinball table. Pinball machine, that's the word that people use. All right, so these 3 G12s, where do they go? Did they just go in these 3? I think they do, right? They just go, there's like 3 screw sets there, and I think the G20s just go right in. The bigger star goes to the outside of the board, and the littler star to the inside. All right. All 3 of them go the same way. Bigger star out, littler star in. Thankfully, all these tabs are going right in. That might mean that they come out when we're playing. But for now, it's nice. All right, so we did the top half of the page. Didn't we say the bottom half of the page looked easy? Thank goodness, because it took us 49 minutes to get through the top half. All right, the bottom half has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 17 pieces, because it has 12 G18s. G18, unfortunately, is this tiny little piece, which is probably going to make it very annoying. But I think it's only to clip those 2 pieces together. Actually, 3 pieces. It's like one's the track and the other 2 are rails, and then there's a bunch of pins. And then what is the J piece? Where's the J piece go? Oh, the J and the P are just like really nothing. What is that? Is that P going to be? I don't know what that's going to be. It's a chip, right? That's a cable? Doesn't that look like a cable? Yeah, that's some type of electronics right there. And then we just build it. We don't even attach it till the next page. Oh, I'm assuming the next page. Yeah, we're not going to attach it anywhere today. We're just going to build it. So for now, we just got to collect the pieces. So if all we're doing is collecting pieces, then let's grab another card from the deck. Let's see what we got here. The first recorded name in history is that of Cusham, who lived in Samaria around 3100 BC. Cusham was king, great warrior, and accountant. Now, let me tell you that the accountant should not be dismissed, because he could have signed his work. And then the question is it the king or is it the warrior that he was writing about? The king is the obvious answer, because kings are kind of like calendars, in that what I mean by that is like nowadays you'll say like 2023. But you might hear people sometimes say, in the year of our Lord 2023. And that means that we're counting based on the life of Jesus. That's why it's like 2023. So the scribe, or engraver, if it was in stone, whoever was working in 3100 BC and talking about Cusham, he would indicate the date by mentioning who was the king at that time. So when you start a document and you put at the name at the very top, you put the year and the date. In this case, in the case of Sumeria, you would put the king's name. The problem is kings usually have more than one name. I don't think the king's name would be just Cusham. So I'm going to say it's not the king. So now it's either the warrior or the accountant. And I don't think the warrior is going to be the first person mentioned unless the warrior ends up becoming a king. And it's just a tale of him when he was a warrior. So I think the accountant is going to be the name. That Kushum the accountant. So we're going to look at that answer in a second. So do you guys all know about Sumeria? Is that where the Epic of Gilgamesh is from? Sumeria, or is that somewhere else? I think it was, right? Epic of Gilgamesh was like the great flood, and I don't think he had an ark, but he had some kind of way of not drowning or whatever was his deal. The Epic of Gilgamesh. All right. Very, the original superhero. The original comic book. And you can say that because there were pictures. They were engraving pictures. They had text and pictures. That's a comic book, right? You put text and pictures together. You're creating a comic book. So Gilgamesh was the first comic book hero. He was the Captain America of his time. Or was he the Iron Man of his time? You know, I guess it kind of like your choice who you think he was. Captain America or Iron Man. Maybe you think he was the Hulk. You know? I don't think people would associate Gilgamesh with the Hulk, but who knows? Okay, Aquaman. You probably think that Gilgamesh is Aquaman, but you know what? Aquaman is DC, and I believe the Sumerians were very much into the Marvel MCU. But maybe I'm wrong, because I think that historically the characters, like, were there more, for example, Shazam. That's kind of like, they don't say Sumerian, but it kind of looks like something like that. Also, DC Comics, just as a sort of side note, does it seem like all of their characters have Superman powers? Like they're not differentiate. Like, everyone just has Superman power. Like, it's not how it's supposed to be. I know that they're like slightly different. Like, Wonder Woman makes people tell the truth, and Aquaman can talk to fishes, but basically they all seem to fly. They all seem to have like super speed and super strength. It's like Superman is overpowered to begin with, and now if you're like gonna make every character in the DC universe have similar, like, sort of overpoweredness. I mean, what are we going with this? I mean, what's left? Is it, they might as well just be regular people because they're all the same. I don't want to be trashing DC. I work with a guy whose uncle wrote Wonder Woman for like 30 years. He's a comic book Hall of Famer. And it's interesting because it's the guy who hired me. And the building I worked in when I was first hired was the same building that Steve Ditko worked in. It wasn't the building my company was in. They were just renting 2 floors in it. And so it's interesting that I ended up getting into comics because I've made several graphic novels, as we were just talking about Electromagnet, despite the fact that I never read comic books as a kid. So you wouldn't expect a person who never read comic books to be making them, but I was. So anyway, we got 12 of these G18s. Here's our J5. That doesn't belong there. C17, D20, D21, and P32, which is, I'm not sure what this is. It's, it says EG01 on it. P32, EG01. EG01 is the model number of the pinball, and P32 is the piece number. I'm not sure. Like, can you read it from there? I can read it. All right. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 17. Right. We counted this before, but we didn't add it. So let's add it now. What's 34 plus 17? Like 51? Something like that. All right, so we're going from 634 to 651. And now we got to start putting this together. So we're going to need those pins. We're missing something. Our C17 doesn't look like their C17. This is what our C17 looks like. That's not what theirs looks like. Theirs looks like this. Are there two like C17s? Well, we're going to use this one. I don't know why this said C17 when it's not C17. Man, these boards are like empty. Okay. Is it maybe G17? Where'd I get this from? Not here. Look, C18 and C19, and they look just like this C17. So I guess this is really a G19? Oh, sorry, a C19. So that's D. Oh my goodness. These pieces are unwieldy. Where did this come from? Okay. It came from here. It's C19. It is C19. C17 fell out on day 1. So this is actually C17. So whatever. So we have to hook on these two pieces. One to the inside, one to the outside. They have these little like knobs on them. The knobs go outside the track. I mean, it's obvious because that's where they connect. They can't go anywhere else. And then these two pieces are like, save them for a minute. So we got to put all these pins together. So did we answer the last question that I don't even remember what that question was. Did we look up the answer? I don't think we did. What was the question? The king, the great warrior, the accountant. I thought it was the accountant. Let's see what it really was. Kushim was an accountant responsible for tabulating the production and storage of beer. He wrote in cuneiform on clay tablets and signed his name to the accounts to verify their accuracy. All right. We got that one right. Now let's get these pins in. You think you want to put them in the bottom first and then put these on top? Or yeah, I think that's the way to do that. Wow, it's going to take a minute to get all these pins in and getting them to flush. Alright, we definitely need something to talk about while I'm putting all these pins in. Okay. That is definitely going to take a minute. All right. What's the next question? In 2009, In 2009, James May of Surrey, England, made the first full-size house made of what? I mean, is it beer cans? I know they often make houses out of beer cans, or do they just use them as aluminum siding? A house of wax? I mean, there's been houses made of brick, wood, recycled material. But 2000, you would think someone would have made a home out of recycled material like 100 years ago, not 14 years ago. So what was it? What was the 2009 in England first house made entirely out of... You can't make a house entirely out of solar panels, can you? Because I feel like that would be something that would make the news. Some guy made a house entirely out of solar panels. What if he made the house entirely out of popsicle sticks? You know how people make like houses, like we're making a wooden model right now. There was a time when people would make popsicle sticks. Like you would buy a pack of popsicles and keep them in your freezer and eat them all summer long, and then you would have a bunch of popsicle sticks, and then you can build with them, and you definitely could build a house with popsicle sticks. Maybe you also use toothpicks. Maybe you also use matchsticks. There's a lot of kind of repetitive wooden materials that you could use. I'm feeling like the popsicle sticks is a good answer because, I mean, they're saying entirely out of popsicle sticks. Like, you can make a log cabin without using tar or cement or anything. You can just like kind of burn them together or shave them or mold them or, different kind of techniques for working with the logs. But I don't think you can quite do that with popsicle sticks because they're so small. You would have to use glue or twine or something unless you pressed the popsicle sticks together first. You would maybe do like an alternating pattern, like a brickwork sort of pattern, and then smush the popsicle sticks together. And then maybe you're going to get something that you can use. And I think that wouldn't be cheating. I think that's a fine use of popsicle sticks. Are popsicle sticks going to work for all aspects of the house? Like if someone says they made a house entirely out of brick, people don't ask, is the plumbing brick? Though it was probably in the days of like ancient Rome or cement. But I don't think you're requiring that the plumbing and the HVAC be made out of popsicle sticks. I think you just mean like you're replacing the wood with popsicle sticks, and that sort of counts. Wow, I'm really like just not even trying to think of another answer. Popsicle sticks just seems like the right answer because so many people have made small houses out of popsicle sticks. But let's try to think of some other answers because we've already determined it could be done with popsicle sticks, but what else could it be done with? Empty beer bottles? Because you can fill them up with sand, would that be cheating? Is it still empty beer bottles if you fill them up with sand? I think so. I'm talking about glass beer bottles. They probably would be quite well insulated if you did that. If you used beer bottles with sand. What else could you do? What do you think? Is that the answer? Wow, it's such a guess because unless you read the story, like how are you going to know the answer to this? Let's try to think. What would be newsworthy? By the way, this is done. We still got these two pieces, but we did all of these things. A couple of them kind of pushed out the back, so I think we can fix those, and then we'll look up the answer, and then we'll finish that last piece. So I'm just looking for ones that are high, and I'm trying to get them to flush on both sides. There's actually a lot of them that are high. I think as I was putting the top on, I was kind of pushing the bottom like through. But we're fixing it now. I just put a support back there and support up here and just push it closed. Sorry that was off camera half the time. I'm just checking for pins that are high and pushing them to flush. Alright, so that's good. That piece is good. Alright. Let's see what this guy in England made his house out of. Alright. 2009, James May of Surrey, England made his first full-size house made out of. What's your answer? Alright, let's see. Legos. And it even had a working shower and toilet, along with a very comfortable bed. Unfortunately, the construction made of 3.3 million plastic Lego bricks was demolished as it did not have planning permission. So he made a Lego house. That's nice. Kind of what we're doing right here. Oh no, we're doing wooden. If we're doing a Lego puzzle, then we probably would have guessed it. Alright, so what do we do with these pieces? Do they hook here or do they hook here? Let's find out. Oh, they don't do anything. They just hook to each other. For now, they just hook to each other. The only thing is we got to get the cable in the right place. How do we do that? It doesn't look right. It doesn't look like their piece. Oh, okay. We had it upside down. All right, so this is probably the way it goes. And then we stick this on the bottom. Hopefully we don't break anything. That's incorrect. We got to have the cable and the notch on opposite sides. Right now we got them on the same side. Alright. Cable on the left, notch on the right. There's a little triangle there. Yes. The little triangle goes on the same side as the cable. The notch goes on the other side. You can see that triangle there, right? So the triangle and the cable are on one side. The notch is on the other side. Alright. Okay, so it's going to plug to the bottom of this track. So there's three sort of squares there. And that's going to line up the two pieces of wood. And then whatever that little piece in the middle there is, they're all going to go through here. And the cable is towards the outside of the track. All right. That's it for tonight. I'm John Rapp. This is Just Rest Your Eyes. Good night. See you tomorrow.